morning, everybody. Welcome to Embracing Wisdom with Stacy. That's me. This podcast is all about living your best life. And sometimes, a lot of times, that takes changing your thoughts, changing your thinking, and looking at the inner narrative that we have about ourselves, about our life, about situations, about other people. I want to say that the only thing that we have control over is ourselves, our thoughts, our words, and our actions. This morning, I was listening to a guided meditation, and the question that came in this meditation was, are you living in alignment with your values? And I have a few podcasts about values and the importance of living in alignment. But the way that this person asked the question, it was really about, are your actions aligned with your values? Are your actions aligned with your values? So I want to think about and have you think about, what are your values? And are your actions aligned with that? For example, let's say your value is compassion and kindness, and your actions are gossipy and judgy. Are your actions in alignment with kindness and compassion? Probably not. And so it's revealing to be able to say, this is my value. This is what's important to me. But then our actions often take a detour when it comes down to actually implementing those values. So I thought that was interesting. But we're in a brand new month of March. Over the course of my life, March has been a transformative month over and over and over. And it's not like I have an intention for that. But as I look back upon my life and I look back at major decisions that I made to change the trajectory of my life, almost all of them happened in the month of March. For years as an adult, I was incredibly heavy. I was very heavy, emotionally, physically, spiritually heavy. And it was in the month of March that I woke up one day and said, I'm done. I'm done being a fat girl that's angry. I'm done being toxic. I'm done. And I started to change my life. And it was the month of March. The month of March was when I started my yoga business way back in 2011. I had been teaching prior to that, but it was where I really took that step to say, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. This is the type of yoga I want to offer in the world and to whom I want to offer it. So that was an exciting March for me. March was a time when I left a situation in my life, a relationship in my life that I felt that I was being beaten down to going back to a place of unworthiness. And I just wasn't going to go there again. So I made some major decisions in the month of March. So I always go back to those times that what was it that helped me to take that step to transform my life, to stop being fat, to step into a job or a purpose or a career that I knew my soul and my heart was wanting me to do. And then was I brave enough to leave the security of a situation for the sake of my worthiness? So lots of fun things. So the month of March is a powerful month. I think it's a time where we're kind of coming out of that winter kind of doldrums. And depending on where you live in the country or the world, winter can be a time where a lot of people struggle. I live in Colorado, so we have a tendency to have a really gray, snowy day, and then we have 10 super sunny, wonderful days. So we're not stuck in a constant snow here in Colorado. People think we are, but we're not. And so when we think about March, I want to think about, and I've done this for a few years, if you've ever had a garden or even a flower pot, a flower box, or maybe you have a big garden. I have a lot of both. The first thing that we have to do before we can even think about planting anything is get rid of last year's stuff. We have to go in there, get our hands dirty, pull out the weeds, pull out last year's growth, pull out the trash that has blown in from the winter. We have to get in there and get rid of things that would only clog up the garden or the flower pot if we were to leave them in there. So let's say we have, a little raised bed and we decide, I'm not going to get rid of all that old dead stuff. I'm just going to put the seeds in and hope for the best. Probably your garden's not going to grow because it's going to be smothered by the old stuff. Now, think about this related to your life, what you wish your life could be, the transformative step that you want to take, the seeds that you want to plant in your heart or in your life, or maybe an idea that you have to take your life a different direction. Or maybe it's that job you're afraid to say yes to, or maybe you want to move, but you're too scared to step into the unknown. Well, what if your life was like that flower pot or that flower bed? And in order for you to put the seeds in, you have to pull out that which is old and no longer going to serve you. So let's just imagine that the old stuff represents fear, it represents unworthiness, it represents scarcity, and we pull it out. We get rid of that thought. We get rid of that idea that we're not good enough, we're not lovable enough, we're not smart enough, that it's going to fail because it's failed before, so therefore it's going to fail again. What if we pulled all of that out and now we have this beautiful empty space? How cool is that? Now, go into your heart for a second and just think about some of the emotions that you have in your heart. And there's a lot going on right now. So there's a lot of emotions. There's a collective emotion, there's a personal emotion. So think about your heart just for a second. And what are three primary emotions that you feel in your heart? So just list those. And now ask yourself, are those three emotions that you predominantly feel for the last couple weeks, months, whatever, are those emotions going to foster growth this spring, or are they going to smother any ideas, directions, hopes, and dreams that you might have? So, are they going to create some space for growth, or are they going to smother? Now, take for example, if a primary emotion that you have that bubbles up every day or every other day is anger. Is anger going to be fertile soil for you to attract love? Is anger going to propel you into that new job or that new position or that new friendship or maybe that new home you're wanting to get into? Is anger going to help you get there? Probably not. So pull it out, and it's hard. Anger has roots that go so deep. So you got to pull and then you got to watch. There's going to be another one. You got to pull it out and another one, pull it out. And so if you were able to identify three emotions that you feel in your heart on a consistent basis, if any one of those three emotions are not fertilizing your soil to have you live your best life, I recommend for the month of March, you work really hard at clearing it out and taking that metaphoric rake and yanking out of your heart the things that are getting in the way, that are smothering your dreams. They're toxic, they're weeds in your garden. Now, next month, as we go into April, we're going to be planting stuff. So we have work to do this month. I have work to do. I have to eradicate and get rid of disappointment because disappointment is not going to be spacious for my new dreams and ideas to be planted, to be loved on, and to be bloomed. Disappointment is a weed. It's got to go. It's got to go. So, this month of March, we're going to talk a lot about this. I want you to think about identifying the emotions that you feel most consistently in your heart. And if they do not create a fertile place for goodness to grow, you got to get rid of them. We'll talk a little bit more in the coming weeks of how do you get rid of one that maybe has roots so deep that go way back to your whole childhood. Like that's a big, long root. It's a tall one. We'll talk about some strategies to do that. But the first step is to identify the weeds in your garden, 3 of them. Let's start pulling them out. Okay, so stay with me for the month of March. We have lots of fun things. I so enjoyed last week's podcast with the Q&A. There'll be more of those. I'm not going to do them every month, but maybe quarterly. And then stay tuned for some of the fun March themed yoga classes that I will have online that are going to help you with strategies to yank out those predominant negative emotions that are taking up space in your garden that exists in your heart. So stay with me. Have a beautiful day, and I will chat with you soon. Take care. Bye.